This is going to be talked about a lot in the next year. It's going to be a big point of conversation, I think, surrounding the next presidential election. Maybe not the biggest issue, but it's going to be a big issue for sure. That's climate change. So let's jump right into it. The Sierra Club has a speaker coming tomorrow evening who's a pretty entertaining and interesting guy who's really making a name for himself and for climate change here in Michigan. He's one of the state's leaders in climate change and renewable energy solutions, and he is Peter Sinclair. He's on the line with us right now. Peter, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Your blog is called Climate Denial Crock of the Week, which I think is pretty interesting. Tell us a little bit about your blog to start with.
Well, I started about 8 or 9 years ago doing a series of videos on YouTube to push back against the misinformation that was out there, and I came up with the name Climate Crocks. Climate Crocks are these crunchy little nuggets of disinformation that, for instance, Rush Limbaugh can say in 10 seconds, but it takes a real scientist an hour to unpack. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a scientist, but I thought I'm a communicator. Maybe if I start talking to scientists, I can help them kind of tease these things out and push back against all this nonsense. So that's how it started, and there's hundreds of videos in that series, and now there's a new series through Yale Climate Connections, which is called "This Is Not Cool."
It's it's interesting when it comes to climate change. It's basically climate change is real. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. We don't hear a lot of science. We just hear a lot of back and forth whether it's a real thing or not a real thing.
Well, anybody that is near a computer can go to Google and plug in Colorado sea level satellite, and they'll instantly come to the graph of sea level rise from the satellites that's, widely regarded as the gold standard of accuracy. And you can see a sea level going up in a steady line. The reason it's going up is two. One is that we know from looking at a thermometer in fifth grade science, when you heat something up, it expands. So the ocean is expanding from warming. And we're also melting ice. And more that's becoming the biggest component of the rise. So either the last 300 years of physics and all our thermometers are wrong, or the ocean is gaining heat. So that's the bottom line. That's first order physics that scientists look at.
So what's the biggest cause of that?
Well, the basic physics we figured out 150 years ago. John Tyndall demonstrated in 1859 that there are gases in the atmosphere that trap heat. So since then, the basic idea has been, okay, there's gases that trap heat, heat-trapping gases. If heat-trapping gases trap heat, then adding more heat-trapping gases will trap more heat, and heat makes things warmer. And that's the basic physics. And we know that we're adding more of these greenhouse gases every time we burn coal, oil, gas, something like that. And so scientists were predicting, starting in the 1950s, when they really kind of nailed this, that things would get warmer. And sure enough, around about 1975, things really started to take off. And they continue to get warmer. And 2014 was the warmest year in the modern record, and 2015 is blowing it out of the water so far.
Talking with Peter Sinclair, he is going to be speaking with the Sierra Club tomorrow evening at the St. Clair County Library in Port Huron, second floor conference room. The talk is entitled "This Is Not Cool," like that. What every citizen needs to know about climate change. What does everybody need to know, Peter, about climate change?
Well, it's real. It's physics. The consequences, if we allow it to go unchecked, are dire, and the solutions are here. And I never do a talk about the problems of climate change without talking about the solutions. Renewable energy that is produced without burning fossil fuels, is now competitive with traditional forms of energy. And I'm putting together some new slides, like I do for every talk right up to the minute, and you can read the high-level financial press, the Financial Times, Bloomberg News, Fortune, right on down the line, and they're telling us in blaring headlines that solar energy and wind energy are now competing head-to-head with the most cost-effective forms of fossil fuels. And in many cases, starting to beat them. I've had several conversations with utility executives and regulators in Texas, which is one of the states that's really leading the way on this. And Austin Energy, which is the big utility in Austin, Texas, has been buying solar because it's cheaper than gas for them. Yeah. Now, roll that around in your mind a little bit. Solar energy is now cheaper than gas in Texas.
In Texas.
Got it?
Yeah. That's shocking.
It's shocking, yeah.
When did climate change become near and dear to your heart? When did this become the thing that you wanted to really promote and to make your life's work?
Well, you got a few hours. I've been following the issue through the media since the late 70s, early 80s, but really got riled up in the last decade or so because it was one of those things that I just thought, well, the facts are out there. We're going to deal with this, right? But there's been a huge pushback, a disinformation campaign, very professional, modeled after what the tobacco companies did to hold off regulation of cigarettes. And it's been effective, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. And so I spend most of my time talking to scientists, real PhD, publishing scientists, and reading peer-reviewed literature to cut through all this, deliberately distorted stuff.
I'm guessing, just based on what I know about you and the YouTube videos I've seen, let me go out on a limb and say, if you're a fan of, for example, The Daily Show, you'll enjoy this presentation. Am I right?
Yeah, I would say that's certainly the direction I'd like to go in. Sure.
All right, very good. The presentation is tomorrow evening, and it's at the St. Clair County Library in Port Huron, 7 o'clock, put on by the Sierra Club. So I mentioned that, next year's a presidential election. What would your perfect presidential candidate say about climate change and about his or her plans to deal with it?
Well, the perfect presidential candidate would say, look, burning fossil fuels is imposing hidden costs on society. Every time we burn coal, we're increasing the levels of asthma, heart disease, God knows what else, not to mention the climate costs. So we need to put a price on carbon that gives the economy a clear signal. And this is what a whole lot of economists and even very conservative Republicans like former Secretary of State George Shultz and James Baker, formerly with the Reagan administration, agree upon. So something like that is inevitable. It's got to happen, and it's better to happen sooner rather than later.
We appreciate your time this morning, Peter. Hope you get a great turnout tomorrow evening. And if people want to follow you online, what's the best website to go to see some of your work?
Sure. You can go to YaleClimateConnections.com, or you can go to my own blog, which is ClimateCrocks.com.
All right. We'll check it out. Peter, thanks again for your time. Appreciate it very much.
You bet. Thank you.
Take care. Bye now.